there's big news out there in the sporting world.
The big news is Oscar Pistorius.
Yeah, huge news.
And I don't like him, don't care for him, never did.
Really? You don't like Oscar Pistorius even before he... What are you doing?
I had something in my tooth.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't like him.
You're saying, I mean, a lot of people don't like him now that he murdered somebody, but,
yeah,
but allegedly.
But also, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have problems with the murder.
Right.
But what I never liked him racing with them things that looked like something Wile E. Coyote would order. And
what?
Well,
you had a problem with him racing with his blades. His blades. He was the Blade Runner.
Yes, he was.
Those Teflon blades.
I did have a big problem with it because, well, I'll put it this way. Let's imagine you're a runner, you know, with legs.
Yeah.
And then you go home, you go, oh, I lost, honey. Who'd you lose to? Guy with no legs.
Wait, you're saying that you didn't like that Oscar Pistorius raced against people with legs?
No, I don't. I feel that one of the basic requirements of being a sprinter is having legs. I feel that they should say, okay, listen, let's, here's the, hey, what about you? I don't think you can be on the team. Why not? Well, you're not a biped. You have no legs, so scram.
Okay.
You take your time as long as you want. But get the hell out of here.
No one's going with you on this. Nobody is with you on this at all.
Except the feller at home that's like, that son of a bitch I lost my race to that got no legs.
Are you saying he had an unfair advantage because he had these?
Well, of course. He had rocket ships.
They're not rocket ships.
Okay.
Andy, help me out here.
No, it's still him running.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, guys, I agree with you then. Oscar Pistorius is a scholar and a gentleman.
All right.
He's a murderer.
He turned it around on us.
Alleged murderer.
And that's the part you like.
Yeah, you said I'm okay with that part.
No, I'll tell you something, though, you know, Conan.
Yeah?
We talk about, like, people with promise.
Yeah.
And Oscar Pistorius was a man, and he was a great man. But I'm put in mind of the people that that have promise that are unfulfilled. Mm-hmm. Like when I was young, there was a fella went by the name of Jacques de Gautier. And he was from Témiscamingue, Quebec. And Jacques de Gautier, he was a fella that really thought. And he was smart, you know. He was our hope, I guess. And he was, while I was scrabbling to get out of high school, Jacques Zagatineau had already...
I think you just changed his last name.
Well, you know, a man grows. But this is the point.
Yeah.
Jacques de Gatineau, he went to McGill University and he got 3 degrees, by golly. And he went over across the pond to the fellers with Cambridge and he even stood up to them. Mm-hmm. And we thought, boy, he's going to be the next. We had Jean Marchand, Gérald Tertier, Pierre Trudeau, the 3 wise men of Quebec. By God, Jacques de Gatineau was going to be the next.
Give me the next gun.
Yeah, but he vanished. And I met him, I started to do stand-up and travel from here to there and to here again. And one time I was in Niagara Falls, and gosh, I went over to the SeaWorld there. You know how they have the SeaWorld? You know, with the different fish. You know.
I didn't know that, but okay. Yeah. Yes.
Beluga.
The SeaWorld. I've been there many a time.
Okay, so I was checking out the beluga whales and stuff, and I look over, and who do you think I see?
I hope it's that guy.
No, it was just an attendant, but he showed me to the place I wanted to see, which is where they feed the little baby dolphins, because I love dolphins, you know. And who do I see there but Jacques de Gatineau? And here he is, he's feeding the baby dolphins. And I go up to him and I go, Jacques Gatineau, I feel shame for you. You were our hope. You were to go to Canada, Canada's nation's capital of Ottawa. And you were to be a great man, Jacques Gatineau. And we were all, we pinned all of Témiscamingue, Quebec, pinned our hopes on you. Now that's a hell of a burden for a man to have a town's hope pinned on them, isn't it, Conan?
It is a lot, big burden.
So he was feeding these baby dolphins, and I said, I'm ashamed of you, Jacques Gatineau. You could have done so many great things. And he said, I think I'm serving a youthful purpose. Now I believe that...
I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen.
You don't encourage that.
It's like
That was a 40-minute story.
it's like somebody.
Youthful poipus?
Youthful purpose.
Yes.
Not poipus.
I don't know. Good God.
I know. That was way out of line.
No, that was way out. Who are
Like
you to
somebody
criticize Oscar Pistorius?
It's like somebody saying, I got to show you something. They take you on a 4-mile hike to show you a dog turd. Look at it. Okay.
Well, there's your reel for CBS. We're getting this right to Les Moonves.
I gotta have him.
You want to see that every night, Les? This guy's got
More Quebecois humor.
I love you. I really do. You know that, right?
I know it, man. You're a great man. I've never said this, but you've done so many benefits for me for the gypsies. And
I get the word out about werewolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're done now, right?
I'm finished.
Yeah.
That's a can-do, Norm.
You came charging out like
Yeah,
that.
because people, look at this audience, man. They don't care about that. Why? They like jokes.
The Swedes are with you.
They got flags. They got flags.
Yeah, they got flags and they're scoring you. You've got 3 9s and an 8 so far for your
Where are you guys
entrance.
from, man? Oh, sweet. That's Sweden?
Yeah.
God bless you, man. Everything's good about, you're an Irishman. Me mother, she was orange. Me father, he was green. It was the biggest mix-up that you have ever seen. I'm Scottish. I'm a Scot. You're Irish.
Yes.
What are you?
Swedish German.
Swedish German. Are you really?
Yeah, really. Why would I lie about that? It's not
No,
funny.
it's very odd, because...
It's a very strange lie. I put one over on those people. Yeah.
Swedish German.
No, I'll tell you why it's funny, man, because I was in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
I met a good old boy down there, and he said, he said, you know Andy Richter?
Yeah. Yeah. He did.
Yeah.
You met a guy in Georgia and he said, you know Andy Richter?
Oh, yeah, you guys do well there.
Oh.
And he said, I said, yeah. He said, have you ever heard of Andy Richter joke? I said, no. He said, well, most of it's based on him being Swedish German. And then he told me an Andy Richter joke. And
Really?
But I didn't know he was Swedish German. I thought it was all nonsense.
Yeah, well, now this lines up perfectly. Let me ask you something, because it sort of relates to the first...
Wait, don't you want to hear the joke?
No. Oh, you're down to 6. You're down to 6. All right, this joke will get you back
Yeah,
up.
you can get him back.
Let's
Okay.
hear the joke.
Well, the fellow says, he says, you ever hear the time about the old prospector? That's how he tells you.
Yeah.
He says, man, there was an old prospector, and he was prospecting for gold, and he was having a hell of a time getting any gold. It was an empty stake, I believe. And he said he'd come into town one day. He'd been in the mine for a good 8 months. He said, by God, he said, I'm only flesh and blood. Sure. Yeah. And I need a woman, And so he goes into town. He goes up to the bartender. He says, bartender, he says, man, I've been in that mine for a hell of a long time, and I'm only flesh and blood. I need a woman. Well, the bartender says, hell, there ain't no women in this town. If you want to do any of that business, all we got is Andy Richter, the Swedish German. The prospector, he says, no, he says, hell, I ain't into that funny stuff, you know. He says, I'll be fine. So he goes back to his state, you know, and he's back in that mine, man, and 6 months passes, and a year passes, and Conan, you know, people are weak. Man is made of flesh and pride, as the scriptures tell us, and by God, that old prospector finally broke to his knees and he said, I'm no worse than he went back to the bar. He was a beaten man. He says to the bartender, he says, hell, man, I've been in that place 2.5 years. A man has needs, and if you say there's no women in this here town, he says, well, I'll have to go for Andy Richter, the Swedish German. But he says, listen now, he says, man, I'm a tough old hombre, you know, and I got friends now. He says, I don't want anybody to know about this. You know, this is back in the old days.
Sure, yeah.
He says,
I can tell by the accent, yeah.
He says, I got my cowpoke friends and so forth. I'd hate to hell anybody know about this. You know, this got to be all secret. Nobody. I say nobody can know about this. Bartender says, well, 4 people will know about it. How do you figure that? He says, well, he says, I'll know about it. He says, you'll know about it. Andy Richter, the Swedish German, will know about it. And the fella that has to hold down Andy will know about it.
Why?
Why? Because Andy Richter, the Swedish German, he don't go for that funny business neither.
Well, at least you left me my dignity.
Yeah.
I like the way that story ended.
Yeah,
That was a nice...
you weren't gay.
Right. Yeah. Well, but that's not beside the point.
You were raped.
No, it's more.
Norm, you know, I didn't get a chance to talk to you before the show, and I like to find out how you're doing in your personal life. I know you're from Canada.
Yes.
And do you get
rural
back?
Canada, deep rural Canada.
And do you get back there much and see the old gang, the old chums?
God, yeah. You know, I grew up, we didn't know the things that you do in the city.
City folks.
I remember when my dad, when I was young, he took me to the first time we ever went to the city. And we saw an elevator, and by God, my dad didn't know what it was, and I didn't know what it was. And we see the doors, it was just magic doors to us. That's what my dad called it. The doors opened, and a big, fat, old, ugly woman in a wheelchair got in. And then the doors closed. And then the doors open again, and a beautiful blonde walks out. And my dad says, quick, go get your mother. Now, that guy was listen. He was a dirty dog, but he was a good man.
He's a good man,
Yeah.
You ever see any of the old chums up there in Canada?
Well,
you ever go up to the old rural areas of Canada?
I met a man there last time I was there that lived in the city of Cornwall, where Ryan Gosling hails. And, well, it's a big city because of that now.
Yeah.
And so...
big deal, yeah.
So anyways, he was from the city, and he got tired of the rat race, racing and chasing and trying to keep up with the Joneses.
He got tired of the city life.
Yeah, so
he couldn't take it anymore.
He said, I'm going to get myself land. Land. Man needs land. So he went to the country where we live. And the soil's not arable, it's rocky, hellish. But anyways, he liked it.
Yeah.
And so the first day there, the neighbor fella, Angus McGregor, comes over. I know Angus a long time. And Angus, old fella, he says, what's your name? The guy says, Phil Henshaw. He said, you're from the city, I hear. Yes. He says, well, I just come over to say hello. God, the city fella says, isn't that something? All the years I was in the city, I never met my neighbor. I lived in an apartment and I never met my neighbor. First day here on the farm, and here you are saying hello. Well, I'm saying more than hello, says Angus McGregor. I'm going to invite you to a welcome wagon party over at my farm. Well, the city fella says, that's exactly what I was looking for. I guess I was looking for a sense of community as well as owning land.
Yeah.
So he says, what's the party going to be like? So Angus McGregor says, well, I won't lie to you. It gets pretty rowdy. A little drinking, a little fighting, a little fornicating. So the guy says, well, that's all right with me. What time do I show up? Angus says, it don't matter, just the two of us. Now...
Right.
Norm Macdonald. That's very nice. How are you?
No, I had to come back to show the respect, man, because like I started Saturday Night Live the same year you started this show.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and I remember watching. We'd all watch and go, I don't think it's going to work.
It's not going to work.
And, but then it worked, and it was great, and we're all really proud. And so that's great. And also, it's stunning how Jay Leno outfoxed you again.
Yeah, he's good.
I know. You think, like, everybody's like, oh, I'm Jay Leno. They do the voice and everything. Meanwhile, he's the shrewdest guy. He outfoxed. You're in good company. He outfoxed Johnny Carson, David Letterman. Every 10 years, some redheaded rube shows up.
I'm like some clown off the bus
Yeah,
with cardboard suit. Gee golly, this is going to be great.
Yeah, you can have it after me. You go, hey, thanks, Jay. So that's the phone call you got.
Yeah, yeah.
Your agent's like, there's good news and bad news. You are doing the Tonight Show. It's true. But remember that discussion where you said, I'll never have to follow Leno again?
Yeah. It's so nice to have you back, Norm. It's so very nice to have you back. And you bring joy to so many people. And you know what? I'll tell you something, Norm. These are tough times. People need to laugh now because it's the economy. Since I last saw you, the whole economy is tanked.
I watch the news, and I don't understand a lot. Some people think I do. Because I used to do, like, the pretend news. So they'll think I know. But I don't.
Like, really? You get confused about stuff?
Yeah, you know that.
Yeah.
So, but when I'll watch, like, TV or something, they'll say, like, the deficit. And then I go, I've heard that word.
You don't know what the deficit is?
No, do you?
Not really.
But then sometimes I'll hear a word, so it'll be like the Great Depression. One time, that's what I heard. I was watching the news, and it said, there might be an upcoming Great Depression. So that one kind of resonated with me.
Yeah, sure. It would. That grabs you, yeah.
Sure, because I've heard of that. I remember, I've read books, and it's not... I don't mean to, like, I'm bragging I've read a book.
Yeah, yeah.
I read books on the Great Depression, and they seem cool. But I would like to, it would be fun to go, I don't even like my wife anyway, and I don't got no money. I'll just get a stick and a pouch and head out.
No one does that anymore. No one ties a rag to a stick anymore. And what are you going to do?
You're going to find a partner is what you're going to do pretty quick if you value your life.
Really?
Yeah. You see, people, it's all going to be different once the Great Depression, because my dad used to tell me about the Great Depression. Like, if I had money to invest in right now, you know what I would invest in?
What's
Guys jumping off the top of buildings. You think that's not going to happen, but soon that's going to be very big. And then those guys won't be powerful anymore because most of them will be dead and the rest severely crippled. And so the powerful guys will be the old hobos.
The hobos from olden times?
From the original Depression.
Oh, okay. Those guys are still around?
Some of them never gave up the life.
Okay.
And they use that stick for more than carrying a pouch on, I'll tell you that.
I don't even know what that means.
What that means is they'll drive your head, they'll, like an overripe cantaloupe it looks like.
What?
Until...
The hell is that?
They'll club you to death for a sandwich.
Oh, my God. Well, thanks for spelling it out for me.
All right.
So you're afraid of these hobos?
Well, of course I am.
You really think these old hobos from the Depression, you think there's any one of them left?
Yeah, there's Kitchener Leslie.
What?
He's an old hobo that's waiting and wait for his time. You'll know all about it. You just wait. Hey.
You will literally say anything. It doesn't matter to you, does it?
I thought we were here to, as well as to say a lovely goodbye to you for getting a promotion. Is to say...
You have a big project to talk about.
I have a big project.
Let's tell us what this project is. This is exciting.
Are you familiar with Sully Sullenberg?
The captain
You know
who
him?
landed the plane on the Hudson. Everybody knows Captain Sully Sullenberger.
Everybody now knows who he is. I've known him for quite a long time.
You knew him before this whole thing happened?
I knew him 10 years ago.
You knew Sully Sullenberger, the captain who landed the plane on the Hudson that long?
Yes.
10 years?
Yes. And I, as soon as I first met him, I thought there's something special about this guy, and I bought his story.
You're kidding. That's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, I met him in, where'd I meet him? Airport. I met him. It was a Sbarro's.
Uh-huh. That adds up, yeah.
And he was getting pizzas. He was getting pepperoni, but anyway, whatever. So,
and I heard you made a movie.
I made a movie.
This is going to be a huge movie. You have the movie of Captain Sully Sullenberger.
Yeah, I could break it here, I guess.
This is great. This is huge.
Well, you want to see a clip?
Yeah, I want to see a clip, and this must have an exciting footage.
Well, well...
This story, the end of this story is incredible. When the engines go out and...
The movie's been in the can for 6 months.
You made a movie about Captain Sully Sullenberger, and you finished it before he even crashed the plane on the Hudson, landed
Yeah, and it's too bad, man, because I was struggling for an ending for a long time. It's called Sully Sullenberger. Sully Sullenberger.
Burger. You clearly spent 10 years you've known this man? You forgot the at the end of his name?
I call him by a nickname, whatever. It's called Sully Sullenberger, Airport Pilot. But anyways, I brought a clip.
Oh, let's take a look at the clip.
Oh, can I say something?
Yeah, yeah.
I play Sully.
You play Sully in the movie? We have to see this now. Unbelievably, this was shot before the incident that made him famous, but let's take a look.
On behalf of U.S. Airline, we know you have a lot of choices to make, and...
Good crowd, but you're Norm Macdonald. You know, you get that everywhere.
This is an exciting day here at 30 Rock. You know, the Rosie O'Donnell show premiered today, and I was in its tapes at the same floor as Saturday Night Live on 8H. They had flowers sent. There was the whole... It's unbelievable. You know, people must love her. There's flowers all along the entire 8H.
Right.
All flowers. They're sent by, like, there was one from Madonna, one from Elizabeth Taylor, Regis and Kathy Lee. I've never seen so many flowers. I didn't even realize you could eat flowers. I didn't even know that. But, no.
Hiya, Rosie. I'll be your pal.
That's
Mighty neighborly of you, Norm.
No, she's
Nice
great.
of you to eat all those flowers.
No, she's great. The show is great, you know.
You're screwed now.
Yeah.
How's it going? It's summertime now, so you got a break from that whole nutty news thing that you do.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why I love coming on this show. I get to do the news stories that I wouldn't be able to do. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And,
Really? That's
yeah.
the nice thing about this show. It's like
Yeah.
you could just do them to a mirror, but what fun would that
That wouldn't be much
You come
fun.
here and you can do your stuff.
Yeah, I got other things I like doing in front of the mirror. That's gross.
I don't know
No.
what they're thinking.
No.
You didn't mean it that way, of course.
No. So, but one big news story: Twister is the big what do you call it? Movie. Yeah. Twister's the big movie, and I got some news. Apparently now they're thinking about Oscars for the movie.
Yeah.
They're thinking of Best Actor for The Wind. Before the show, you said that stunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were right.
I did. They showed me a sheet of some stuff Norm might talk about. We all know these are completely spontaneous. And I picked that one out. I circled it and said, that ain't going to work. I know this crowd.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm your friend. I'm looking out for you. But you got other ones that I thought were terrific.
Yeah, I didn't like them that much. But, but there was one I just thought of.
Oh, really?
I was just reading the paper backstage. Dr. Kevorkian, did you read this? He killed his 29th person just today. And let me tell you something, and I want to tell America, this guy is not a good doctor. I mean, people should start, it's crazy. You know, I have killed less people than that. I'm not even a doctor, you know? Yeah.
No, I go, well, how is life? I know besides thinking of these news story things and stuff like that, you know, you having a good time? You able to relax over the summer, have a good time?
Am I able to have a good time? My cat just had a heart attack.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he had a heart. You ever hear such a crazy thing?
No, I didn't know they got things like that.
Yeah, they get heart attacks. So I got it off Steve Coren, this writer up at
Sure,
Saturday Night
I know
Live.
him, yeah.
Yeah, so he gives me his cat. Turns out it's some kind of a defective cat, you know? So he's a nice cat and everything. I'm getting along with him. I come back to my apartment last week. The cat's like foaming at the mouth. He's shaking like this. He's foam coming out. So I didn't want to get near it. I thought maybe he'd, you know, who knows? He was delirious. Maybe he'd think I'm a mouse. So I said, I didn't want to get near him. So I phoned 911. You know, I panicked. I phoned 911.
Right.
Which it turns out it's just for people. I didn't know that.
Didn't know either.
They got mad, man. They said that they would have me arrested if I phoned back.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, you know, I love this cat. It's a good cat. So I took him down. I got him in a cab, and I took him down to the hospital, the animal hospital. And the guy tells me my cat had a heart attack. He takes him away. He says, oh, yeah, he had cardiac arrest and stuff. And he started asking me questions about, like, he says, I said, what would cause that? He goes, you know, diet, stress.
Stress?
Yeah. Well, he had a big promotion coming up. So, and then he let me visit the cat. He says, you can visit the cat, you know. There's visiting hours. I go, all right. So you go in this room, and then they bring the cat in a cage. He's all drugged up. And then they put the cat, like, on a bed. And then the guy goes, okay, we'll be back in a half an hour. You have half an hour, you know? So I'm with the cat, like, for half an hour. So after 5 minutes, you know, I figured, I got a life to get back to. You know, it's a cat. So we go out, and so afterwards he told me he had a lot of, he said he could have an operation, which was like $4,000, which, you know, I could buy like 100 cats for that, you know? But then I figured, what the hell would I do with 100 cats?
Right. So you got the cat. You sprung for the operation.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
No, there was another thing where he's on medication, you know, and I have him on medication. I have this medication. And he said there was some good news and bad news. He said the bad news was the cat only has like a 20% chance of survival, but he says the good news is it's just a cat.
He's a bad doctor. He's a bad doctor, too. Can you hang on 1 second?
Yeah.
We're going to take a break, folks. We'll be back with more Norm Macdonald. But first, this message from Coca-Cola. After a long day of carrying the Olympic torch, nothing relieves your thirst like an ice-cold Coca-Cola. Right, Oldie Olson? Hey, everybody, we're back. Here with Norm Macdonald, and you were talking about going to the in the last segment. I understand you actually had to visit yourself.
Yeah,
the hospital.
I went. What happened was on the show, on the Saturday Night Live show.
Yeah, that show. Yeah, I know that show.
I was on that, and Dennis Rodman was a guest.
Dennis Rodman, right?
And so we thought it'd be funny if he headbutted me, you know. So he headbutted me, but he did it really hard, you know.
Do we have a? I think actually someone supplied the clip. This is you're not.
Yeah, that really.
You hear that? You hear that dull thud of like skull on skull.
Yeah,
It really.
Yeah, and I don't have like a strong head. I haven't been working it out lately.
Really?
But he has like an athlete's head, you know. But no, beforehand he said, like, I said, hey, don't hit me with your head, or no, don't really hit me. And he goes, no, Al. He goes, he had this thing where he was going to put his thumbs, and as soon as he touched my thumbs, I go back, and then he got all excited and headbutted me. So, like,
so did you feel like pull the thumbs back, and then real head was coming at you?
And so I like blacked out for like a minute, and then the next day I had this huge headache, so I thought I was going to die, And so I went to the hospital. I went to I don't want to say the hospital, but I went to this hospital and to emergency, and they're all like, they're the craziest guys in emergency, all like crack. Everybody's on crack, Every emergency is a guy on crack.
Yeah.
So I went in and they go like, hey, how much crack do you have, And I go, I'm not on crack. And they go, what happened? I go, Dennis Rodman headbutted me. On the TV. He headbutted me on the TV. So they go, yeah. Right.
How much crack,
Yeah.
So what happened? Anything wrong?
Yeah, I don't know, man. They said, like, you can't tell. They said, like, the only way you can tell is if later on, if you go to sleep and you don't wake up. Yeah.
That's why you didn't mention the name of the hospital.
Yeah, I don't want to mention it. I didn't know this, too. If you go to emergency, you got to pay. They keep sending me bills, like all kinds of bills.
You thought it was free, that you could just go there and...
Yeah. I'm from Canada. It's all free there.
Oh, okay. Now, I guess I've known you for a little while now, and you've come on the show a bunch of times, and we've gotten, I was kind of surprised because someone told me that Norm Macdonald, has gotten kind of, superstitious, and I thought, that's odd, because I don't think of you as that kind of person.
I never was. I was always a doubting Thomas. I couldn't think of the name. I was always a doubting, I was going to say Fred for some reason. I was always a doubting Thomas, I was always, that stuff, that's not true, that's a load of stuff, So, but then I had this thing, you wouldn't believe it, I'd opened my eyes and made a believer out of me. What happened was I had a dream, and it was like the number 7 in my dream, a giant number 7. Wow. It was the most vivid dream I ever had. So I wake up from the dream, right?
I'm with you.
Yeah. So I wake up from the dream, from this number 7. I look over at my clock, 7 o'clock, right?
Wow.
So I get up. It's not that coincidental.
No, I'm just sort of going along with you. Yeah.
So then I go out and I decide, hey, why don't I take a cab, So I get in the cab, and it's cab number 7, I notice, when I'm in the cab. Now I'm starting to get a little freaked out, And so I say, hey, take me to the track. I enjoy playing the ponies,
Sure,
I
hear what you're saying. Yeah.
I like going down there, Conan. I like visiting my money. So
you crack me up.
My uncle used to say that. So I go to the track, and I say, okay, what do I owe you there, fella? He says, $7.77.
Oh.
I said, good Lord. I said, I thought it was like 40 cents. Anyways. So I go, here you go. I pay him, I gave him like $8.
Right.
So I walk through gate 7, went up to ticket window number 7 there at the horse place, and I look up, they have the form there, the racing form shows you all the races. So I look and I see in the 7th race, there's a horse called Lucky 7, and he pays 77 to 1, So I say, to hell with this. I say, I'm going to pull out all my money. I pull out all my money. I had like $700.
Wow.
Pull it out. I said, put this all on Lucky 7th and the 7th, I go watch the race. Damn if he didn't come in 7th.
That's incredible. What an amazing story. Well,
you get older, or you're sort of searching or something? What was it?
I don't know. I just have an intuition that there's a God. When I say God, I don't mean like a force or something. I mean an actual personage. I just have this intuition that there is one. Like I've always had it, and I've always had this deep intuition. Without, I have no evidence or anything, and I don't really like everything I've read from religious tracts or stuff. All seem like insane to me. So I haven't really found one, but although I will say this: of all the religions, I like Judaism and I like Christianity. Maybe that's the way I was brought up, but I do notice. I was thinking about the other day, like there are some people that believe that like man is divine, like kind of a hippie idea that we're all like beautiful creatures. So, anyways, I can't believe that because I know my own heart, and I know that's not true. And then like other people believe like we're wretched, like the cynics, you know, or the atheists or whatever would believe that we're all just wretched, like nothingness, you know, we're just animals, just creatures. So I can't believe that. That doesn't make any sense, you know, that we're just beasts. So I will say that Christianity has this interesting compromise where we're both divine and wretched, and then there's this middleman, you see, that's the Savior, that through him we can become divine, but we're born wretched. And so it's a very fascinating idea. I kind of like that one because it sort of makes sense. It's the other two are both seem equally untrue. One, that we're all divine and interconnected with nature, just seems like nonsense to me. The other, that we're beasts of the field, seems like nonsense to me. So I kind of like that Christian idea, but I'm not. I don't belong to any church or anything.
Yeah, you don't look. So you believe there's a guy in the sky.
Yes.
But how can you even imagine such a thing?
That there's a man in the sky, invisible man in the sky?
Yeah. Where is he?
Well, we can't see him. I guess it would be, I mean, you know, how could a fish possibly imagine a person?
Maybe they do.
Maybe they do, but maybe they'd be mocked by other fish if they ever brought it up. You know, because if they've never seen it, there's just a difference between, I cannot believe that, I believe in souls. I believe that man has a soul. I actually believe that man has a body. I believe that man is a soul. And it just makes complete, like, finite sense to me because I meet people and they're not reflective of their body. You can see an old withered man who has a bright soul. So their soul is not aging with their body. What makes them, there's obviously a difference between a dead person and an alive person, but an old person and a young person are identical. So that's why I believe that people are souls and not bodies, and that the bodies that we have are no more than garments, really.
That's not just their brain, their thoughts.
Their soul?
Yeah.
No, I believe the brain and the thoughts are like physiological. I think people get mixed up that your brain is a physical thing and your mind is a physical thing. So those physical things, your mind, for instance, your mind can't conceive of inconceivable things. It's beyond its capacity because it's just a mind. All it knows how to do is think. So then how can you conceive of something in a very, very real way that doesn't exist? I think it's impossible. I don't think there are atheists, personally, is my opinion. I don't believe there's any such thing.
Meaning what?
Meaning that I don't think there's any such thing. When I hear atheists talk, all they talk about is God. It's very hard to talk about something that doesn't exist and be fascinated with it. It seems impossible to me personally. Now they might be much deeper than me and be able to imagine unimaginable things, but I don't think that you can imagine something. I think that's the arrogance of man, that he thinks he can imagine unimaginable things. Personally.
But I think atheists are only talking about God because that's the culture we grow up in. For me, I don't identify as an atheist, but I think it's just not a factor in my life. I can't conceive of a God, but, you know, if there's one, there's one. And there's nothing we can do about it, and we'll find out in due time, I guess. So it's just an absence of belief. It's not theism, it's atheism. And it's only a reaction to everyone, you know.
It's reaction. All it is reactionary.
Yeah, so...
But the problem with it is this, with atheists I have heard, is they're usually, as with most, you know, people that like to argue, they're usually missing the entire point of everything. So, because this is a very important question, and then they end up talking about priests fucking kids or something, or, you know, they talk about the Crusades or some ridiculous nonsense that has nothing to do with the question. So as soon as I hear them talk about that, I go, okay, well, you're a fucking idiot. Why should I listen to anything you say? Further than that, if we were to go to even deeper level than that, if everything was created by accident, then that means that you and I were also created by accident. And that means that Richard Dawkins was created by accident. So why the fuck should I listen to him? Like why would an accident be able to convey to me how he became an accident through a series of accidents? That makes no sense to me.
So, see, now we're getting funny. How about this, though? If God created the universe, he also created the cannibals that are in the news today. He created the what created wars and all the badness in the world, too. So how do you explain that?
Well, I don't explain it. I mean...
Why would he?
Why not? I mean, you know what I mean? It's the atheists believe in the fairy tale because they're saying, how could God be mean? Why the fuck can't he be mean? You know, why can't he allow races to be turned to ash? Why not? What the fuck is it matter? It's the atheists that live in the fairy tale saying God should do this, God should do that. You know, you read the Bible, it says rain falls on the wicked and the just. He doesn't give a fuck.
The Bible now.
Well, the Bible, I mean, that's the only one I know, you know.
Yeah. Well, so somebody wrote the Bible. I don't know. That's, have you studied or read philosophy?
Somebody wrote philosophies too. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm just saying somebody wrote atheistic tracts too.
My wife went into a coma.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And the doctor said to me, you won't hear this from any 1935 comic. He says to me, there's one way to wake her up, but it's a little unconventional. You go in there and you have oral sex with her. I said, by God. He says, I've seen it work. I said, well, I'm willing to try. So I go in there, I'm in there about 5 minutes, and I come out. I said, Doc, she's choking.